Hey y'all, hey. I am Fran and welcome to Awesome Zen and Fran. On this channel, you will mostly see me, but this is about navigating the autism journey of my 5-year-old son. And yeah, to know Zen is to love him, to know that he 1000%, I'm his favorite person in the world. If you see me and Zen together, more than likely he is giving me kisses. Like, Zen is the sweetest kid you'll ever see. I'll insert some pictures and stuff like that. He's the sweetest kid you'll ever see. But yeah, so Zen was diagnosed with autism um, 3 years ago. And I'm not going to lie, like, that was just I had to kind of grieve the future that I dreamt of having with my son. You know, whenever you are pregnant and you're carrying a life, you kind of envision y'all's future together. And I never imagined that we would have to navigate autism. But luckily for both of us, we had friends who worked with children who have autism. So it was like, I already had that backing of support and just kind of knowledge on the next steps and things to do. And then I also had like a background of like when I was in high school, I did used to babysit for this lady at the church. Her son had autism. He was the sweetest kid. He definitely was one of my favorite. He could recite Happy Feet from front to back, all the songs, like every single word. And he is an amazing young man to this day. Like it's just so wild. Like the perspective that I've gained from just, kind of just letting it be. There is nothing, that we as parents can just, magically flip a switch and have that life that we dreamt of. Now, to grieve the future that I dreamt of having with my son, as our realistic future looked a little bit different. And I just wanted to help other people that are on that same journey, honestly. Um, so, about Zen's autism journey of getting diagnosed, um, let me just actually talk to you guys about Zen prior to any symptoms or anything like that. Zen, he was actually trying to say his alphabet before he even turned one. He was 8 months old and he already understood the concept of saying his alphabet. By the time Zen turned one, he was saying plenty of words. I will put in some pictures and videos. Zen was able to say no. He was able to say stop. He was able to say yes, no, mama. And he really would mostly only say mama whenever he felt like in danger. Um, but yes, by the time Zen was a 1 year old, I was working at a salon. I am a lash tech. I was working at a salon and we had a meeting and I had to bring Zen with me. So I brought Zen to the salon and the owner, she was like, Brittany, did you know that Zen can count to 5? I was like, what? She was like, yeah, he just counted to 5 and did like he put his fingers up and showed me like him counting his numbers. I was like, what the heck? So for Zen's age, he just kind of always been very advanced. And he even would be like trying to argue with me a little bit. Like I would be like, stop. And he'll be like, no, no, like just very advanced. Saying little words here and there. He knew his age. Um, I don't know, like everything was going just fine. And I think it wasn't until Zen had his 18-month checkup that I actually ended up reaching out to his, I ended up reaching out to Zen's bonus mama because at the time, Zen was going to his dad's house a lot. And I just asked her, I was like, hey, have you noticed anything different about Zen? And Zen actually has a brother that is his same age. So her being able to be around both of them is whenever she noticed, she's like, yeah, like Zen, he's not talking as much as his brother anymore. And I was just like, dang, I did notice that. And then one particular instance that I can, I just have it in my mind was I got Zen like um, a tent, and then it had like the little pit, the balls, like a little ball pit or whatever. And I was telling Zen like pick up this ball, and instead of Zen just picking up the ball, he just goes into like crying, like a crying spell, and I'm just like, bro, I will pick up the ball, but it was just more so like, what? What was that about? But I didn't really consider that until, after getting the diagnosis. So, yeah, basically, it was this 18-month appointment. We went to the pediatrician, and, they have like the little surveys for your child's milestones. And you'll just check, they're meeting this milestone, they're not meeting this, da 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 da. But I just had that mental note in my head that, okay, whenever I talk to the pediatrician, I will, just inform her that Zen isn't talking anymore like he was. And so I told the pediatrician, filled out the form. She came in and she was just like, Zen has autism. And I'm like, and just full transparency, like I have 10 plus years of experience in the medical field. So when she came out and said that, I was just like, this is not how this is supposed to go. Um, you're his pediatrician. You can come out here and tell me Zen might have autism, but you're diagnosing him, and we haven't done any type of assessment to diagnose. I did the little survey, but that's not an assessment. So I kind of had words with the doctor, because and it was just like a shock, that initial shock and denial. I went through that phase, um, and it's very, I can remember everything about that time because I just remember feeling like my world shattered when she told me that, and then I had to go home with this news. Like I literally have, the day that she told me that implanted in my mind as if, it was a life or a death type of situation. So naturally, I went home, and then he got, I believe that he got shots that day. And so by the time we got home, he had been crying. I just put him in the bed, and I went out to my car, and I was just boohoo crying. At the time, I was staying with my dad. Rest in peace to him. And yeah, I was staying with my dad, and he heard me from inside the house, boohoo crying, just like literally like somebody had died. And so he was very concerned. He just came up to me and asked me like, what's going on? And I was like, the doctor is telling me that Zen has autism. And he's like, what is autism? My dad was already 65 plus at the time. So, rightfully so. It wasn't really a thing as much as it is now. But yeah, that was my raw, initial reaction was just boohoo crying. And I'm a girl, okay? I cry, honey. Like this is gonna be a transparent channel where we talk about the real. And naturally, of course, I shared the news with Zen's father. And we both were in denial. He was just like, "Where are you at? Come bring my baby," like that kind of thing. And so I tell him about it, and he's like, no, come to, like, he was working at a salon too at the time. He's like, come up to the salon, like, let's talk about this in person, like, because they try to misdiagnose Black boys all the time, and I'm just not about to let that happen with my son. And I was just like, I understand where you're coming from, but again, I did have that medical background. um and once I started to look through the Google, and once I started to look through Google and just kind of do a little research, like literally minimum research, I was just like, I actually pulled it up while we were together, and I'm just like, Zen has this symptom, Zen has this symptom. Like, once it was brought to my attention what the symptoms were, I noticed that Zen had been stopped making eye contact with people. He didn't respond to his name. He didn't really care for playing with his peers, and especially his growing bond that he had with his brother, who is that same age as Zen. Um, there was a disconnect. Like, his brother could be, basically, they could parallel play, which means I'm playing with this, you're playing with that, and we can play side by side. But as far as interaction, like, Zen was not interacting. He wasn't engaging any type of, playfulness with his brother. He was having meltdowns, like, to the point where my dad actually thought that I was hurting him because he was crying so much. And what it really was, like, I'm a very patient person, and especially when it comes to, like, mothering my child, I am the most patient person ever. I'm a lash tech, honey. Like, I have top tier surgeon type of patience. So, I would change his diaper, make sure that he ate, all of the things. And Zen would just cry and cry and cry. And I remember, like, he had like a crying spell, and I'm like, I don't know. I just, in my mind, I'm like, okay, maybe I should just let him cry it out. But this crying went on for minutes and minutes and minutes and minutes, and I'm just like, whoa. So, we live in Texas, so it's pretty warm here. Well, we live in Texas right now, but um, I just took Zen and we went outside. It was probably like 10 p.m. We went outside and just got some fresh air. And what do you know? He stopped crying when we were outside, and we got that little, barely a breeze, like. But yeah, so those were his symptoms that he was having. He couldn't follow one step directions, no eye contact, did not want to engage with others. Um, and I noticed that he was starting to have like some very, very, like, very particular, ways that he was eating, and the things that he was eating. Then he mostly liked crunchy things. And so, yeah, and so those are just like a handful of the symptoms that we noticed, but that was like most of the list. Whenever I'm breaking this down to his dad kind of stayed in that denial state for a extended period of time. Um, and also, it doesn't help the fact that we live in Texas, or live that we live in Texas at the time. So here in Texas, it's like it took 6 months to get Zen diagnosed. The wait list here for therapies is like crazy long, and this was actually prior to COVID. So whenever we got on the wait list, it was like through COVID, basically. So no, okay, so yeah, in November is whenever the pediatrician told me that he might have autism. And then we went ahead and got on a wait list with Cook's Children Child Study Center. They're who initially diagnosed Zen in Fort Worth, if you know. So yes, from November, he wasn't actually diagnosed until May. So that was through, the months of the height of the pandemic. And so, he was on the wait list prior to COVID, but it just takes so long to get services out here. And um, that is part of the reason that, me and Zen, we are actually packing up all of our stuff, and we are moving to a whole new state. But I'm pretty sure that's a video for next week. I can get into that more. But as far as his diagnosis, it was a fairly simple um, it was a fairly simple process of getting him diagnosed. And just with me being familiar with the medical system and how things work, I was like, I'm gonna call every facility I'm gonna call every facility that is on this list of, they accept his insurance, because I have to get my baby taken care of, and I wanted to make sure that, and honestly, I had Zen on 3 wait lists at some point. And whenever I seen that some of the wait lists were 6+ months out, I was like, oh, never mind. I went back and I would tell them, like, okay, you can take him off this list. This other place is going to get him in sooner. And whenever you are an autism mama or daddy or caregiver, um, you have to be their advocate. You have to be the person that, a voice to the voiceless. And not saying that all, people with autism are voiceless, but with my son being at his age, he barely had turned 2 actually at the time. He was 2 and like 1 month old, 2 years and 1 month old. So, he was nonverbal. And it's just, as hard as it is to be out here advocating for your child, you have to go just as hard on everything else in life, because your mental needs to be up to par. Like, it's just like the old people say, you can't help nobody if you can't help yourself. Okay. And that is not just for caregivers of people with autism. This is for everyone. Like, you can't pour out of an empty cup. You got to refill yourself. And so over the years and over the years, I've just had to have like a very strong mind state. Like, it's, and that's part of the reason why I created this channel, is because it's not talked about as much. And, sometimes people might feel like you're talking about it too much, but it's like, this is literally me and my son's life, and because it's not talked about as much, people don't have as much knowledge. They don't have as much um, autism awareness as they should. And I feel like a lot of us autism parents, we kind of get in our own world and we just, shut out the world and try to take care of our child. But there's so much power in community. There's so much power in having a tribe behind you that, is just helping push you through every single obstacle that you go through. And that's something that we will talk about a lot on this channel as well, is community, community, community. I when I went to go get Zen diagnosed, the doctor, oh my gosh, she was the coolest lady ever. And before she even, rolled out the diagnosis, she came in and she was just like, Mom, before I get into anything, Mom, like, I just want to let you know, like, I'm so proud of you for getting Zen diagnosed so early. I'm happy that you noticed his symptoms early on. A lot of children don't get diagnosed until much later. She was like, this is probably one of the youngest children that I've diagnosed with autism. And one of the very next things that she asked me, just about my support at the time, she was like, I noticed that you came here alone to this appointment. And I just want to let you know, like, this is going to be a journey for you guys. Navigating this is going to be a journey. She was like, but just make sure that you know who is a part of your tribe. That's going to be vital to y'all's journey. And that just really stuck with me because, yes, like, it really does take a tribe of people to help. And, even the smallest things. And man, my tribe, like, shout out to them. Y'all know who y'all are, my friends, my family, people that weren't even my family, that would help babysit Zen. I'm just forever grateful, and I just can't wait to be in a place in life where I'm able to pay back all these people that have done so much for me, and not just financially. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just want to be able to give them a huge thank you. Um, yeah, so this is awesome, Zen and friend. Like, I'm going to be giving y'all a lot of different content coming in this rollout just because y'all need to know Zen, and he is a hoot, okay? And y'all know that, well, not everybody knows, but Zen is actually named after one of my favorite rappers, Kendrick Lamar. Zen Lamar. You see what I did there? And it's kind of ironic because then literally he loves Kendrick Lamar, like so much so that one of his Christmas gifts is going to be a hoodie that has like the album art on there. Like, and I know he's going to be like, ah, like he's going to love it. But yeah, so stay tuned to my channel. I'm going to talk to y'all more about us packing up and moving to a whole nother state. I was packing up and moving to a whole nother state. We're going to talk about autism awareness. We're going to talk about mental health for caregivers, baby, because burnout is going to be I'm going to dedicate a whole episode, baby, to burnout because it's real. Caregiver burnout is so real and it affects so many of us, and we don't even recognize what it is. So, yes, until next time, nice meeting you guys. Make sure that y'all hit the subscribe button and come back and kick it with me and Zen.